Okay, this is Orlando Wilson, and what I want to talk about in this video is something that happened recently out of UK, reference Wagner Group. And a few people contacted me about this, thinking, what's my thoughts, etc. Where the UK, the British government, has designated Wagner Group as a terrorist organization. My thoughts, I think they're going down a very slippery slope. Why? Wagner Group is really an offshoot of, it's a defense contractor. It's a PMC, but it's an offshoot of the Russian military. We know that. I'm not sure, I'm not up to speed on this, but I think the Quds Force of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard is also designated as a terrorist organization. The thing is, Iran doesn't have as much influence as Russia at the moment. Now, Wagner is a PMC being designated as a terrorist organization, but they're an offshoot of the Russian military. They get all their equipment from the Russian military. They're guided by the Russian military, and they're not really going to do anything without permission of the Russian military. So if Wagner Group can be designated a terrorist organization, that means a lot of the Western PMCs, defense contractors, etc., can be designated as terrorist organizations. I'm sure some of you are saying, well, this wouldn't happen. Well, how the terrorist designation works is it works out country by country. Some countries recognize certain terrorist groups. Some countries support groups that are recognized as terrorists by other countries. So this is where it's very, very gray. Just because one country calls a certain group a terrorist organization doesn't mean everybody's going to support them. Now, it would be quite easy for Russia in return to start designating defense contractors out of the West as being terrorist organizations. If you remember, it has been proven, and this is just one example, that the first Iraq war was based on lies. There was no weapons of mass destruction. Everybody knew this. Tony Blair lied to the British people. He lied to everybody, right? And the same out of the US, etc. I'm not going to get into the politics. Okay, that war was based on lies. Now, doesn't that make, if that war was based on lies, where does that leave? It was an illegal war. Where does that leave the security contractors, etc., that was working in Iraq? Were they there illegally? Well, if the war was illegal under international law, if the war was illegal, the invasion was illegal, then wouldn't they be working there illegally? I'm throwing this out there as a what if, because this hopefully puts this into context. The US and NATO troops are now in northern Syria. They don't have permission from the Syrian government to be there, nor have they declared war on Syria. So again, are they, okay, they could be classed as a terrorist organization by Syria. So this is where there's a lot of gray stuff going on here. If a company is supplying defense contracting services in certain areas, then, and something goes wrong or doesn't have to go wrong, then they could be classed as a terrorist organization. If a company is supplying product, they could be classed as providing material support to terrorism. So this is a very, very gray area. The other area this could affect is NGOs, government-funded NGOs, and there's a lot of them. A lot of NGOs, Western NGOs, take money from the US government, takes money from the British government, Europe, etc. Big, and they're in a lot of places. It's a fact, everybody knows a lot of these government-funded NGOs are intelligence gathering tools for their governments. If they weren't, then they wouldn't be getting the money and they wouldn't be going where they're going. If you've got NGOs working in hostile areas, be it northern Syria, be it Somalia, or other parts of Africa, and they're working in terrorist-controlled areas, they wouldn't be doing that without the yes of their government. So they must be there on the bequest of their government, doing their government's dirty work. Well, gathering information, etc., etc. spreading propaganda, whatever they're doing. I'm just using that as an example. So this is where could an NGO that's found out to be gathering intelligence or cooperating with their own government be classed as a terrorist organization because they're spying, etc., etc. So this is where it opens up a big mess. Big mess. I think the US done the right thing because they classed Wagner as a criminal organization. And I can see that. I can see how that can stick because a lot of their deals with governments in Africa or wherever, I take it they're all cash in hand deals, etc., etc., etc. And again, there's a lot of things going on there, even as far as we could throw it in there in CAR, Central African Republic. There's lots of stories going on about how they're dealing with the mines, etc. So that could be classed as organized crime, money laundering, money trafficking, racketeering, etc. So I think from a legal basis, an international legal basis, it'd be far better to class Wagner as a criminal organization rather than a terrorist organization. Because a terrorist organization that can open up, it's too broad of a definition. And again, this is where I was saying to a few people recently, okay, Wagner could be classed as a terrorist organization by the West, and their people cannot go into the West. Or the way things are going, non-BRICS countries. But if you've got somebody that's working for, say, a British defense contractor, and their people have been proven to be supplying weapons that's been dropped on civilians in Syria or something, and it happens, don't be in denial, or Yemen, don't be in denial, supporting whatever in Yemen, that person from that defense contracting company goes into a Russian-friendly country or goes into, in the future, a BRICS country, they could be arrested on terrorism charges. Because those countries they recognize their own terrorist organizations. So I think this whole thing with Wagner has been, with the UK designating them a terrorist group, is very haphazard. I think it's a knee-jerk reaction to the failures in Ukraine, or it's a knee-jerk reaction to their indestructible Challenger 2 tank being destroyed. And the joke is they got on the website and with all the deployments the Challenger 2s have been through, none's ever been destroyed. I think the UK MOD needs to change their website quickly. Anyway, moving on. That's just my opinion on Wagner Group, and I think anybody with half a brain these days can take a look at things from all sides and say the world is getting. The international political situation at the moment is very confusing, it's very diluted, it's very hypocritical on all sides. There's so much false propaganda and BS flying around from the West, from the East, from everywhere, that it's, I think we're living in supreme times of stupidity. But only history will be able to work out what was really going on, if people actually tell. But in the meantime, I hope this gives you a few things to think about, those that's asked me questions. So, as I said, interesting times, stupid times. But in the meantime, be good, stay safe, and stay out of trouble. And if you are a security contractor, if you are an NGO person working in out-the-way places, be careful. And again, as I said, a lot of these big corporations, etc., you might be working for them, they don't really care about you. You end up in jail somewhere, such is life, they'll find somebody else. So always watch your own ass. So in the meantime, be good, stay safe, stay out of trouble. Follow me along on social media for more videos. And also I have an array of books on Amazon, etc., etc. We should be commencing the courses again in the next few months. We've been laying off the training because I've just been too busy. So be good, stay safe, and stay out of trouble.